This is me telling 130,000 people that my dream garden will have a 5-star outdoor kitchen and a dream railway carriage retreat. So from now on, I'm not going to do any more work on the house.
Henry, you still need to finish the house.
The thing is, Julia was right. And even after 18 months, we'd barely been able to set foot on this land.
So today we find out what we actually bought and tackle the 2 problems that we couldn't ignore and see if our very small start gets us any closer to the garden we had imagined.
We'd watched enough grand designs to convince ourselves that 2 people with desk jobs had absolutely every qualification necessary to renovate a cottage in the countryside. But strangely, it wasn't the house that sold us. It was this. I mean, look at it. It wasn't exactly overflowing with curb appeal, but to us, we could see opportunity and potential. Nestled into the Forest of Dean, we had nature on our doorstep and a proper community around us, and this slightly tired old house right in the middle of it. Our garden was the hook. It's huge. The house had a bit of character as well. And together, we're going to have a go at getting our hands dirty. All of that stuff is what this channel is made up of, but today, we're getting all green-fingered in the garden and discovering what lies beneath the overgrowth, which is usually the point in every project where I realise I have absolutely no idea how to pull off the thing that I've imagined in my head. My lovely wife and the voice of reason was right. The house really did demand 99% of our attention. In fact, for the next 18 months, the garden became the carrot dangling in front of the donkey. Except, every time that donkey got close, the house broke something else. What we couldn't ignore was just how exposed we were. Because our house sits right beside the road, cars coming down the hill had a pretty direct view into our living room. So we needed to have a good think and come up with a way of getting some privacy. So with a break in the clouds, we headed outside to finally give ourselves a chance to enjoy the reason we bought the house in the first place. Though things had got a bit wild out there. This is the moment that you bring in the big guns and employ your family free of charge to help tackle the years of neglect. Clearing this growth back took ages. In fact, it took days, even with the use of petrol-powered tools, which, by the way, are brilliant. Definitely something to add to your bucket list if you haven't already tried one. Anyway, the graft aside, eventually we managed to get it done. And finally, we got to see the shape of our garden for the first time. One of the more exciting finds was a burnt out set of mattresses, which is nice, isn't it? Anyway, treasure aside, this was the first time that we could actually see the scale of our ambitions and understand what we bought. It turns out the ground levels were a bit more complicated than we first realised, but we could now see which areas the sun hits at different times of the day. So suddenly, this all started to look less like a blank canvas and a bit more like another renovation. That's because our plans were getting bigger. We were seeing outdoor kitchens, trees, privacy, somewhere to entertain, and naively, at one stage, we even thought we had enough room for a camping field. Dreams aside, for the first time, we could actually start working out what might go where. What definitely didn't work though was the driveway. Technically, we could park 5 cars, but that's providing that nobody wants to leave. There's enough space here that we really shouldn't have this problem, so I decided to do something about it. So we had this second gate at the front, and that's when I realised we might actually have something quite unusual for a semi-detached cottage. An in and out driveway. Now, would a car actually be able to drive in one gate and out the other? There's only one way to find out. And it brings me great pleasure to introduce you to Scoop Dog. Yes, that is 1.5 tons of digging power, and we're here to shift some dirt.
Oh no, our driveway!
Full disclaimer, I have never been behind the controls of a digger, and the only instruction I've ever given was don't tip it over. Being new to the digging world, I did wonder if there were some checks that I needed to do before I started digging, and it turns out there is literally a handbook on how to dig safely, and I hadn't read it. But what we uncovered next definitely wasn't in the estate agent's brochure.
And this is one of the treasures that we found in the garden after cutting everything down. It sits just there on the ground, discreet, but unfortunately in line with the garage, which makes manoeuvring cars around this a bit of an obstacle. It's not obviously the most attractive well, but if we just dip inside here, we'll see that it's all been filled up with junk over the years, which is a shame because the stonework in here is really nice. So the plan is to take the top stone off, and we can kind of salvage this and make something like a fire pit in the center of this. And the stone inside, if I can get enough of that, we can make a mock as a tribute somewhere else more convenient in the garden.
The result of my first attempt at diggering wasn't pretty, nor was the driveway, if I can even call it that. But I could at least park 2 cars side by side, so long as the rain doesn't turn it into a mud bath. Whether I could actually drive in one gate and out of the other without a 3-point turn, we'll find out when I'm brave enough. Because first, there's another problem that we can't ignore. It really did feel like being on a stage in this garden. It's far too easy to make eye contact with every passerby, and coming from London, where eye contact with strangers is generally considered a serious breach of etiquette, I found this quite alarming. I needed to put up some kind of barrier to solve my curtainless house dilemma. Because of the planning restrictions along the roadside, simply putting up a taller fence wasn't really an option for us. So the obvious alternative was hedge screening, which is when I got my first dose of reality. Instant hedge screening costs a fortune. Privacy is apparently quite a lucrative business. So I needed some advice. Naturally, we asked ChatGPT, and it very helpfully told us to spend £2,500 on something called Elaeagnus Ebbingei. So we did.
Our hedge is arriving in just a few short days, and of course the first of a few problems has presented itself. So there's a few considerations we needed to take into account before we get this sorted out, which was the visibility display, which we didn't want it too close to the wall because we didn't want to obscure the road, so we're going to set it back from the wall a little bit. This presents us with problem number 2. If we can't have it up against the wall, we need to set it back in the flower bed ever so slightly. And yesterday's digging uncovered something that kind of stops us in our tracks. Yep, that is a waste drain. So, what do you think we're going to do? We're going to take out the entrance to the house and we're going to lay this as a flower bed and then relay this footpath here instead. The other good thing is if we do offset the entrance to the house, we have a straight pathway with Julia dressed like a Ghostbuster to the entrance, which will then eventually have a porch added. So the first job is to lay some block work around these drains to raise the level so that we don't cover this completely with soil. Let's get on with it. Welcome back, and we have demolished our entrance and no longer are able to use that footpath, but fortunately we have this exit directly onto the road, which is dangerous because of that. So that's a lot of diggering, a lot of moving dirt, but we have a raised bed, and now we are able to get the extra height because every inch counts on those new hedges to give us some privacy from that road. Project hedge, where are we at? The sun is coming in and we are running out of time, and we really need to get this in the ground today at least. So hopefully we can get this one side in. And Julia is here digging away, digging our trench ready for this side of planting to go. And this is where they're going to be staggered away from the wall. While my wonderful wife Julia puts these plants in the ground, let me tell you exactly what they are. They are native to Asia. They are a very, very resilient plant. And the reason we chose them here is because they're roadside, they're in an elevated area, there's wind, there's road traffic, and these are supposed to be indestructible. They're not the most standout, they're not very lavish, they are quite dull in their appearance, but they are quite fast growing, they're quite thick, and they will offer the level of privacy that we're looking for. So these really came out as sort of curveball option. Everyone goes for laurels. The one thing that we didn't like about them is they are toxic when you cut them. They release a cyanide, so if you've got them on the entrance to your house and you have to cut them every year, that's not something we wanted to deal with. So we've gone for these, which aren't toxic, and they survive in everything. So I really hope what I've read is true, and we have a success. We've tried to prepare everything today, but as is the case, there's always something else that needs doing. But we're happy with today's progress. And how many have we done so far?
I lost count. I think we're at number like 35 or so.
Oh, there's quite a few, yeah. 35 onwards. This is the last of the row. And then just the last remaining ones to go in the pot, in the planters.
After all that, this was the result. It wasn't exactly instant privacy, but it was nice to have finally put down some roots of our own into this garden. The hedge might not be mighty, but the moment certainly was. Now it's just a case of waiting and watering. We'll check back later to see whether our £2,500 collection of twigs actually did what ChatGPT promised. While we were busy trying to stop everyone else from seeing into the property, there were still parts of it we couldn't see ourselves. Reolink sent me their Elite Floodlight Power over Ethernet camera to try, which solved that problem rather neatly. It uses a single Ethernet cable for both power and connectivity, so I could cover the area around the garage without relying on a flaky Wi-Fi signal. The image quality is sharp and I can access the recordings through the app, and importantly for me, there's no compulsory subscription if you store that footage locally. They've also given me a discount link, which I'll put in the description below, and the really useful thing here is that because we've demolished the entrance path and completely confused every delivery driver in Gloucestershire, I can now also watch them deciding where exactly to throw my parcels across the garden. Winter was on the horizon and we still had a couple of unanswered questions. For one, can I actually drive in and out, or did I just move tons of soil for absolutely no reason? Well, yeah, somehow that's actually worked. And if you're enjoying watching us slowly turn this place into what we imagined, hit subscribe because there's lots more of it to come. For the first time, we could both get a car in, get a car out, and nobody had to perform a small logistical operation just to buy milk. And what about our hedge? This is what they looked like when we planted them. 18 months later, here we are. These legends are actually establishing pretty well. Give them another few years and I reckon we'll have full privacy. Eventually, I would love to trim an archway to form the entrance, once we get around to that of course. But this brings us back to those grand ambitions that I so confidently announced at the beginning.
So, in just short of 2 years, we have a hedge and parking. And all of that to cut down again. Honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world. Yeehaw!